Good morning everyone. Last time we have discussed about the surface phenomena, adsorption and different type of the adsorption, that was the physioadsorption and chemioadsorption. Today we are going to discuss about some of the application about the of the adsorption. So when we talk about the applications, we talk some specific process in which the first one is to control the humidity. That is humidity control. In many of the places, especially in the case of the electronic devices and in some other cases, you can see that some material is put there in the form of the packets. The name of that material is the silica gel. That silica gel is used to reduce the moisture in those of the substances, to remove the moisture from those of the areas. These of the materials actually absorb the moisture from our atmosphere, and that moisture which was inside the system, which can destroy the material, was removed by the adsorption on the surface of the silica gel, and as a result you find the complete dry substance out there. You must have seen these are the materials, especially in your water bottles. When we were small kids, when you were studying in the LKG or UKG standard, you have used some of the colorful bottles, and whenever you have buy that bottle, you must have find a small packet within it on which it is written, keep away from the reach of the small kids. So surely that packet is used for the control of the humidity. Why the control of humidity needed? When you will see the condition of those of the bottles, if the moisture remains inside the bottle, in some of the bottles we check the leakage by filling the water. So if the water will remain in the bottle, what will happen? After a period of time, the decomposition of the water will take place, and that decomposition will generate a foul smell within the bottle, and that foul smell surely will not provide the essentiality or the usefulness of the bottle for any of the ड्रिंकिंग पर्पज, ड्रिंकिंग वाटर एक्सेट्रा. यानी कि आप कभी भी ऐसे बॉटल को पानी पीने के लिए यूज नहीं करेंगे जिनमें से एक फाउल स्मेल आ रही है, जिसमें से फूड डिकम्पोजिशन या वाटर डिकम्पोजिशन की वजह से एक खास तरह की स्मेल आने लगी है. सो दिस इज द यूज ऑफ द सिलिका जेल और द एडसॉर्प्शन इन द कंट्रोल ऑफ द ह्यूमिडिटी. द सेकंड वन, टू जनरेट complete vacuum. For the generation of vacuum, we use the vacuum pump. Vacuum pump is just working similar to that of the cycle pumps. Just the direction of the piston is in opposite direction, and when we suck, the air comes out from the bottle, from the container, whatever is used for that purpose. But the system is not capable to completely evacuate the system to generate the complete vacuum. And if you need a complete vacuum, the perfect vacuum, for that purpose we remove the air as much as possible, and afterward we put a small amount of charcoal within it. That charcoal just absorb the remaining air on its surface and makes the system perfect vacuum. The next one is chromatography. You have already studied about the chromatography, that is the paper chromatography, layer chromatography, and there we have said that the ink adsorbs on the surface of the system, and because of the adsorption, the chromatography process proceeds. The next one, in the froth flotation process. When we talk about the froth flotation process, it is one of the concentration process of the metallurgy. The process is used only for the sulfide ore. This year the metallurgy chapter is not in your syllabus, so I am just trying to explain that what is the process. In this process we take a froth flotation tank, and in that froth flotation tank we put a rotator. that rotates in a specific direction. Along with that, a air provider, a jet-like pipe is there which provides air in your substance. In this container, which is called a fourth flotation tank, we put the ore pulp. And we put a small amount of pine oil over its surface. And in this composition, we rotate this rotator. Because of the rotation, the froth formation will take place. And this fine oil, which provides the selective wettability, allows some of the froth to dip down and some of the froth remain stabilized on the surface of the oil due to adsorption. And as a result, the froth formation takes place, which froth floats out, and as a result, the purification of the ore or the concentration of ore takes place. This process is called froth flotation process only for the sulfide ores, and the phenomena contains the process of adsorption with it. So with the help of the adsorption, we purify the ore, we concentrate the ore, especially the sulfide. Some other important uses is catalysis. We will study catalysis in detail, so I am not explaining it here. We use it as a catalysis and in leather industry to improve the quality of the leather. Some other uses are also there. You can see some of the other uses. Writing on the blackboard is one of the example of the adsorption. Writing on the notebook, that is also the important use of the adsorption. Paper industry also needs adsorption, and some of the other industries also needs the same thing, that is the adsorption. Though you can say that adsorption is one of the important phenomena taking place in our daily usage, daily life, and this is the reason why we say that adsorption is one of the important phenomena in our daily life. But what we have to study, that is the catalysis. We will have to study about the catalysis, that how the catalysis is dependent on the adsorption or how the catalysis takes place. But before that, we must have to know that what are the catalysts. When we talk about the catalyst, we say that those of the substances which does not participate in the reaction but alter the rate of reaction, increases or decreases the rate of reaction. But actually, we can't say that the catalyst does not take part in the reaction. They take part in the reaction, but they does not disturb the product. Whatever the product is forming, the same product will be formed. So they are taking part in the reaction, they are not disturbing the product. So you can say that those are the substances which without directly participating in the reaction increases or decreases the rate of reaction are called the catalysts. So how many type of catalysts are there? When you will see the different type of catalyst, you can classify the catalyst on the basis of the different basis, on the basis of the rate of reaction, on the basis of the state of catalyst, and on some other basis. So when you will see the different type of the catalyst, so some of the catalysts are as given. The first one is positive catalyst. We are discussing about the type of catalyst, and that one, the first one is positive catalyst. When we talk about the positive catalyst, so these are the catalysts which are called the catalysts responsible for initiating, for increasing the rate of reaction. So these are the catalysts are responsible to increase the rate of reaction. Generally, whatever the catalyst we are using, whatever the catalyst we generally know, they are the positive catalysts. Those are the catalysts are responsible to enhance the rate of reaction. Normally जितने भी catalysts हैं सबके सब positive catalyst ही आप जानते हैं, इन्हें जाना जाता है इनके increasing rate of reaction के लिए. These are the catalysts are responsible to increase the rate of reaction. Sometimes it is asked whether these are the catalysts are capable to change the value of delta G, that is the Gibbs free energy change. or whether these of the catalysts are capable to initiate any reaction, then it must be clear that no any catalyst is capable to initiate the chemical reaction. The catalysts are only capable to increase or decrease the rate of reaction. That means they are only capable to alter the rate of reaction. And similarly, they are not capable to change the Gibbs free energy change. If they will be capable to change the Gibbs free energy change value, then surely they will be capable to initiate the reaction. So they are neither capable to change the Gibbs free energy change value, nor they are capable to initiate any of the reaction. So catalysts are not responsible for initiating, for starting any of the reaction, whether the reaction is taking place slowly or rapidly. The catalysts are effective only in those of the cases where the reaction is taking place. If the reaction is not taking place, the catalysts are non-effective. They can't increase or decrease, or they can't initiate, actually they can't initiate the rate of reaction. So the catalysts are not responsible for initiating the reaction. The second type of catalyst is the negative catalyst. When we talk about the negative catalyst, in many of the places it is not written that it is a catalyst. That means in many of the places it is written it is not a catalyst, it is a retardation agent. That means they are responsible to slow down the reaction. So you can study in the term of the negative catalyst or in the term of the retardation agent. They are retarding the rate of reaction. You can say that these of the catalysts are responsible to slow down the rate of reaction. They are not increasing the rate of reaction, they are just slow down the reaction. When you will see some of the example of the negative catalyst, you have seen in the last year when we have seen the chapter redox. In chapter hydrogen, in the chapter hydrogen there was a compound hydrogen peroxide, H2O2, and this hydrogen peroxide was breaking in the form of H2O and oxygen. To protect the peroxide or to slow down the process, we were using urea or glycerin. In your book it was given that urea is used, then urea or glycerin. And what is the use of the urea and glycerin? These are the negative catalyst. So here urea and glycerin is acting as a negative catalyst. So these are the two different type of the catalyst on the basis of the rate of reaction. When you will see some other type of the catalyst, then the next type of catalyst is self catalyst. In such type of reaction, the reactant or product themselves are responsible to increase the rate of reaction. That means one of the reactant or one of the product which is formed during the reaction is acting as a catalyst. If they are acting as a catalyst, so we can say that the reaction is self-catalyzed, reaction is catalyzed by their own components, and this is the condition of the self-catalysis. And the catalyst is called the self-catalyst. Here we are seeing one of the example. This is the hydrolysis of ester, CH3COOCH2CH3. That is called ethyl ethanoate. When it is treated with water, hydrolysis of water, then it forms CH3COOH, that is ethanoic acid, along with CH3CH2OH, that is ethanol. So in this process, when you have seen how the process proceeds, we need H2SO4. This H2SO4 is a catalyst. But if the sulfuric acid is not used in the process, what happens? The H2SO4 was acting as a dehydrolyzing agent, the H2SO4 was acting as a catalyst, so that was increasing the rate of reaction. In the absence of sulfuric acid, the rate of reaction will become slower. And if the rate of reaction will become slower, then what? We will see after few minutes, again the rate of reaction becomes faster. Then how it's possible? It is possible because during reaction, whatever the product is formed, that is the acetic acid. The sulfuric acid was providing the H plus ion, which was acting as a catalyst. Similarly, the acetic acid, the ethanoic acid is also providing the H plus ion, which is acting as a catalyst. So you can say that in this specific reaction, the acetic acid or the ethanoic acid is acting as a self catalyst. So this is the example of the self catalyst. Self catalyst. So in this type of reaction, the reactant or product itself catalyzes the reaction. In this specific reaction, the product is catalyzing the reaction, and that is called the self catalysis. These were some of the classes of the catalysts. The other classes of the catalysts are defined on the basis of their state of matter, and that will be studied in the next class. Till then, bye. Thank you.